But I do want to try and answer a little bit about what Lily's House is about, so that hopefully you'll get a flavour for what the book's about. And I sort of separated it into 5 themes. The first one is the idea of journeys. Lily's House begins when Jen and her daughter Marianne come back to the house of Jen's grandmother Lily to clear it out after Lily has passed away. And it's the first time that Jen's been back to her grandmother's house for over 12 years because they've been estranged for a very long time, even though they were very, very close when Jen was small. And the feeling that I wanted to capture at the start of the book was the sensation that you get at the end of a very, very long journey. I read this lovely Arabic proverb once that said that however fast you travel, your soul will only ever travel at the speed of a camel. And I think that feeling of not having quite caught up with yourself and not being quite sure if you're there or not is one I think that everybody will have had. So the first reading that I want to do is just right from the very start of Lily's House. By the time we get off at the station, I'm so tired and disoriented that nothing feels real. The judder of my suitcase wheels as we cross the broken asphalt of the car park shivers up the handle, into my hand and through my body. We've been in continuous motion for almost 11 hours. Is it much further, Mum? Marianne asks. She's remembering her promise and trying not to complain, but I can see her exhaustion in the shadows round her eyes. I take her hand and give it a squeeze, but I can't speak. In fact, I can hardly breathe. I'm drowning in memories. Here are the trees in tall rows, a stately avenue to a long-vanished gateway. Here are the sharp points of gravel that I pick my way over with bare, tender feet. You know, you could put your shoes on, Jen. I'm all right, Lily, I promise. Here's where I'd step into the road to walk on the smooth, cool yellow of the lines. Please, Lily, I promise I won't get run over. And the way her shoulders moved when she laughed, the brightness in her eyes. No, I know you won't. You've got more sense than most adults. Here is the place where, one bright hot summer noon, she showed me a wild buddleia swarming with 1,000,000 tortoiseshell butterflies. So sudden and so lovely, I thought she must have conjured them. Do you know, Jen, each butterfly means one happy moment in the next year. Let's see how happy you're going to be. Can you count them? And me, swelling with 9-year-old pride. I can estimate them. Estimate? My goodness, that sounds advanced. Did you learn about estimating when you were at school, Lily, or was it not invented when you were little? Here, against the skin of my face, is the soft, salty dampness that comes from being 3 minutes' walk from the North Atlantic. The buddleia has been supplanted by a gigantic stand of bamboo. I want to take off my shoes. Mum, are you all right? Marianne is a study in the surprising beauty that sometimes comes with poverty, lovely even though everything she wears needs replacing. Her fraying ballet pumps are covered in scuff marks. Her thick black tights have a hole that began as small as inconspicuous, but is now stretched to reveal a large oval of her right calf. 2 months ago, and at my stern insistence, she reluctantly conceded that the polka dot skirt she's had since she was 9 has reached the end of an honourable 3-year service and is due for retirement. And yet, here it is again, short and faded, trailing nylon thread where the hem travelled. But, thanks to her persistent habit of growing upwards but not outwards, still just about wearable. Her lips have a smear of bright red lipstick, and her wild brown corkscrew curls hang in careless clumps around her face. It doesn't matter. Soon we'll have enough money so she won't have to dress in old clothes and laddered tights anymore. My heart squeezes tight with love. Are you all right? She repeats as we climb the hill. When I don't reply, she stops in front of me to make sure I'm listening. At the start of the journey, I talked to her, trying not to mind our fellow passengers' fascination. I told her how far we were going, how long it would take, then took a paper napkin and drew her a family tree. That's your great-grandmother, Lily. That's your great-granddad, his name was Richard, and he was killed in the war. That's Lily's sister Margaret, and after they were both widowed, they moved to Cornwall and opened a hotel. Margaret was married, but she never had children, and she had a weak heart, and she died quite young, less than a year after her husband. His name? He was called Stanley. And on the next layer, that's Lily's son, another Richard. Richard was my dad, and he married Amanda. That's my mum, your grandma. They had one child too, so another level, and that's me. I married your dad, and that's you. A sparse family tree, riddled with early deaths and notably lacking in menfolk, pruned ruthlessly down to the single green shoot that is my daughter. As the landscape from the window changed, I laid my hands in my lap and grew silent. Now we're here, seduced by the beautiful familiarity of everything I see. I'm afraid to speak for fear of what I might say. I feel so lost and weightless without Daniel. I have to look over my shoulder to make myself understand that he's really not with me. Nearly there, I tell her, and start walking again. So the second thing that I wanted to talk about is the theme of deafness, because my heroine Jen is deaf, and clearly I'm not. So one of the big challenges for writing this was to try and get into the head of somebody who has been deaf since they were 6 years old. I think the fascination with the world of deafness and the world of sign came when I went to a performance at Hull Truck Theatre and I saw Cooking with Elvis, and it was an absolutely amazing production and I loved it so much. But the thing that really made it for me and for my friends was that it was signed, and we were right by. Lee's laughing because she remembers this. We were right by the stage, and we were just absolutely engrossed in watching the signer, even though none of us spoke sign. It was just the most fascinating thing. Lads on the front row, do you want to cover your ears for a minute? Come on, Harv. We discovered that the verb to wank is gendered in sign, which is just the most fascinating thing. And from that, I kind of learned two things. The first one was that sign is beautiful to watch, and the second thing was that it must be very peculiar to have people who will look at you just because you're speaking your native tongue. And I was thinking, well, what would it be like if that was me? What would I do if I had the opportunity to talk in front of people and know that they'd look, but that they wouldn't know what I was saying? And I thought, well, probably I would find that quite annoying. So I'd like to read next a passage where Jen is basically sort of playing with exactly that scenario. So she's on a ferry with Marianne, and they're taking the ferry over the harbour. "What are you staring at?" Marianne asked. "Just the people." "Which people?" "Those really loud ones in the corner with the bright yellow matching Macs, and the stupid dog that keeps trying to jump overboard." I touch her hands warningly. "It's all right, Mum, they can't understand us." "You never know. Your yellow Macs look so stupid, even your dog is trying to escape," Marianne says very slowly and deliberately. The father, oblivious, pulls his daughter's thick blonde plait, and she jerks it away from him. "See? It's still not very nice." "Oh, all right then, yes, I was looking at them. I was thinking," "What?" "That Lily would have laughed at them too, and called them hooray Henrys or weekend sailors. She'd have said they'd end up drowned by the end of the season. She'd have hated their dog too. She couldn't bear dogs that climbed all around people and jumped up with scratchy, muddy paws. They look like they'd be annoying to listen to." "They are," says Marianne. "The big sister's mad because the little sister got a new outfit for her Bratz doll, and the boy keeps standing on the dob and making it yelp. It's quite funny, really. What do you think they're called?" I glance discreetly over at the family and consider. "The older daughter's called Incontinentia." I don't think this is all that funny, but Marianne's face crumples with laughter. "Incontinentia? Is that even a name?" "Of course it's a real name. It's in a film. She was named after her great-great-aunt, who was the king's second cousin by marriage." "Which king?" "Any king. Don't interrupt. And you can't laugh either. You need to listen." Marianne straightens her face and looks at me expectantly. "And the second daughter, she's called Dalmatia, because when her mother was pregnant, she had a pet Dalmatian that she was very, very fond of. And when it died, she had its pelt made into a teeny little small spotty baby outfit for her newborn baby, and the head was made into a baby hat." "And the son's called Horsefly," said Marianne. "Horsefly?" "Yes, Horsefly, because he's annoying and whiny and they don't like him, but somehow they can't get rid of him." I'm laughing too now. The father glances over at us, then away again, and I feel mean for laughing simply because they look rich and have matching yellow Macs. Then he taps his son on the shoulder, pointing us out as an interesting spectacle, and suddenly I'm not sorry after all.